I arrive at the Ashford estate at 7 in the morning, like I have every weekday for the past 3 months. My oversized sunglasses perched on my nose, even though the sky is heavy with clouds and there's no sun to speak of. The throbbing in my left eye has dulled to a constant ache. But every time I blink, I'm reminded of Tyler's fist connecting with my face 2 nights ago, of the sound it made, of the way I tasted copper in my mouth afterward. I keep my head down as I enter through the service entrance, nodding at Mrs. Rivera, who manages the household staff, praying she won't ask questions about the sunglasses. She gives me a concerned look, but mercifully says nothing, just hands me my assignment sheet for the day. My heart drops when I read it. Mr. Ashford's private study. 3rd floor, East Wing. I've never been in there before. Never even walked past it because that entire corridor is off limits to everyone except his personal assistant and head of security. Mrs. Rivera must see the panic on my face because she touches my arm gently and tells me Mr. Ashford is supposed to be out all morning at meetings downtown, that I'll have plenty of time to clean undisturbed. I nod and gather my supplies, my hands shaking slightly as I load the cleaning caddy. I need this job. I need it desperately. After leaving Tyler and moving in with my sister Emma, I'm barely scraping by, and Emma's apartment is tiny, her patience wearing thin. I can't afford to mess this up. The study is on the 3rd floor, and by the time I climb the stairs, my heart is racing from more than just the exertion. The door is heavy, solid wood, with an electronic lock that Mrs. Rivera's master key opens with a soft beep. I step inside, and my breath catches. The room is magnificent in a dark, masculine way that makes me feel like an intruder. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves line 2 walls, filled with leather-bound volumes that look ancient and expensive. A massive desk dominates the center of the room, its surface clean except for a laptop and a single pen laid precisely parallel to the edge. The furniture is all dark leather and polished wood, and enormous windows overlook the manicured gardens below, currently gray under the overcast sky. The smell hits me next, a mixture of old paper, leather, and something else, something expensive and masculine that must be his cologne lingering in the air. I stand frozen for a moment, feeling completely out of place, before I force myself to move. I start with the bookshelves, carefully dusting each spine, trying to keep my face angled away from the windows in case anyone can see in. The sunglasses help hide the worst of the bruising, but I can feel the swelling, the tender heat of damaged tissue. Tyler had been drunk, angry that I'd told him I was leaving, that I was done with his jealousy and his temper and his hands. He'd cornered me in my own apartment, the one I'd just given notice on, and I'd seen it coming, seen his hand draw back, but I'd been too slow, too tired, too defeated to dodge. The punch had sent me sprawling, stars exploding across my vision. I'd managed to get to my phone, to call Emma, who'd arrived with her boyfriend Marcus, and they'd scared Tyler off. I'd filed a police report. I'd done everything right. But the bruise remains, a purple-black reminder of my failure to see the warning signs sooner. I'm so lost in thought, dusting the same book spine for the 3rd time, that I don't hear the door open. I don't hear the footsteps on the thick carpet. I only realize I'm not alone when a voice, deep and smooth and somehow both gentle and commanding, speaks from behind me. Look at me. I freeze, my hand still raised to the bookshelf, my heart suddenly hammering so hard I can feel it in my throat. I know that voice. I've heard it from a distance, echoing through hallways, speaking on phone calls as I've hurried past. Mr. Ashford, he's supposed to be gone. He's supposed to be at meetings. I force myself to turn slowly, keeping my face angled down, my sunglasses firmly in place. I'm sorry, Mr. Ashford. I start, my voice coming out smaller than I intended. I'll finish quickly and get out of your way. It won't happen again. I didn't ask for an apology, he says, and there's something in his tone that makes me look up despite myself. He's standing about 10 feet away, and he's younger than I expected. Somehow I'd pictured someone older, maybe in his 50s, But the man before me can't be more than early 30s. He's tall, easily over 6 feet, with dark hair styled perfectly, wearing a charcoal suit that probably costs more than I make in 6 months. His face is striking, all sharp angles and strong features, with eyes that are currently fixed on me with an intensity that makes my skin prickle. Those eyes are dark, almost black, and right now they're studying me with a focus that makes me want to disappear into the floor. I asked who did this to you, he continues, taking a step closer. I instinctively take a step back, bumping into the bookshelf. It's nothing, I say quickly. I walked into a door. I'm fine, really. The lie sounds hollow even to my ears. Miss Chen, he says. And I'm startled that he knows my name, that he's bothered to learn the name of one of his maids. I've seen hundreds of injuries in my lifetime. That is not from a door. He takes another step closer, and I can see his jaw is tight, his hands curled into loose fists at his sides. Tell me, who did this? Each word is deliberate, controlled, but underneath I can hear something else, something dangerous and hot, that makes my breath catch for an entirely different reason. The sunglasses feel like a flimsy shield, and I know there's no point in keeping them on. With trembling fingers, I reach up and remove them, blinking in the sudden brightness of the room. I hear his sharp intake of breath. My ex-boyfriend, I hear myself say, my voice cracking. But it's handled. I left him. I'm staying with my sister now. Please, I need this job. I can feel tears threatening, hot and humiliating behind my eyes. I don't want to cry in front of him. I don't want to be this pathetic, damaged thing in his pristine study. But something about his presence, about the way he's looking at me, not with pity but with a kind of cold fury that isn't directed at me, breaks something loose inside me. The bruise around my left eye is deep purple, almost black at the center, spreading across my cheekbone. The swelling makes it hard to open that eye fully. I know how it looks. I've seen it in the mirror. Mr. Ashford is silent for a long moment, and I watch his expression shift. His jaw clenches, a muscle ticking there. His hands curl into fists again, tight enough that his knuckles go white, before he deliberately relaxes them. When he speaks again, his voice is softer, but there's something lethal underneath it, like a blade wrapped in silk. What's his name? It's not a question. It's a command. Tyler Morrison, I whisper, and even saying his name makes me want to flinch. The morning light filtering through the windows creates stark shadows across Mr. Ashford's face, making him look older, harder. The room suddenly feels smaller, the air thicker. I can smell his cologne more strongly now, something expensive and complex that makes my head spin. Outside, I can hear distant sounds of the estate, someone using a leaf blower in the gardens, a car door closing somewhere. But in here, in this study with its dark wood and leather and books, there's only silence and the weight of his gaze on my face, on my bruise, on the evidence of my failure to protect myself. I don't know what I expected when I revealed the truth, but it wasn't this. It wasn't the way his entire demeanor shifts, becoming colder and more focused. It wasn't the way he pulls his phone from his pocket with careful, controlled movements. It wasn't the way he makes a call right there in front of me, speaking in a low voice to someone named Marcus, asking for a full workup on Tyler Morrison, everything, 2 hours. When he hangs up, he looks at me again, and for the first time since I've worked here, since I've glimpsed him from afar, and thought of him as just another wealthy man living in his isolated world, I see him, really see him. And what I see isn't comforting. What I see is a man who has just made a decision, who has drawn a line and decided which side of it Tyler Morrison falls on. You're done cleaning for the day, he tells me. Wait in the staff lounge. I'll send word when you can leave. But I need the hours, I protest weakly. Consider it consulting work, he says. You'll be paid double. Now go. It's not a request, and I find myself nodding, replacing my sunglasses, gathering my cleaning supplies with shaking hands. As I reach the door, I pause and look back. He's standing by the windows now, his phone to his ear again, his silhouette dark against the gray morning light. What are you going to do? I ask, though I'm not sure I want to know the answer. He turns his head slightly, not quite looking at me. What needs to be done, he says simply. And then I'm in the hallway, the heavy door closing behind me with a soft click, leaving me standing there with my cleaning caddy and my bruised face and the terrifying, inexplicable feeling that my life just changed in ways I can't begin to understand. The staff lounge is comfortable in a way that reminds me constantly that I don't belong in the main house, with its overstuffed couches that have seen better days and a coffee maker that's functional, but far from the gleaming espresso machine I've seen in Mr. Ashford's kitchen. I sit in the corner, my phone clutched in my hands, trying to make sense of what just happened. Mrs. Rivera brought me tea an hour ago, her eyes full of questions she was too kind to ask, and I've let it go cold while my mind races through possibilities, each one worse than the last. What is Mr. Ashford going to do? What have I set in motion by telling him Tyler's name? I should feel relieved that someone is taking my situation seriously, that someone with obvious resources and power has decided to help. But instead I feel a growing dread that sits like a stone in my stomach. I don't know anything about Damien Ashford, except that he's wealthy, that he owns this massive estate, that the other staff members speak about him with a mixture of respect and something else, something that looks like fear. So I do what anyone would do in the age of smartphones and anxiety. I Google him. The search results are surprisingly sparse for someone with this much wealth. There are mentions of Ashford Holdings, a conglomerate with interests in real estate, import and export, and something vaguely described as private security consulting. There are photos from charity galas, always the same controlled smile, always alone or with business associates, never with a date. There are puff pieces about his donations to women's shelters and youth programs, which makes me feel slightly better until I scroll further and find the forum posts. They're on sites I wouldn't normally visit, places where people discuss things that exist in shadows and rumors. The Ashford family has connections, one post says. Old money, old power, old debts. Another mentions that Damien's father was investigated by the FBI in the 90s, but nothing ever stuck. A third, more recent post talks about how Damien cleaned up the family business after his father died, made it more legitimate, but kept the enforcement arm intact. Enforcement arm. The words make my mouth go dry. I'm staring at my phone, trying to decide if I should be terrified or grateful when Mrs. Rivera appears in the doorway. Mr. Ashford would like to see you in his office, she says gently. 4th floor, west wing. The walk there feels like a march to execution. The 4th floor is even more off-limits than the 3rd, and I've never been up here. The hallway is wider, the carpet thicker, and there's artwork on the walls that looks old and probably costs more than I'll earn in my lifetime. His office door is open, and I can see him inside, standing by a wall of monitors that show different views of the estate, security feeds that make me realize just how thoroughly this place is watched. Marcus is with him, a man in his late 40s with silver threaded through his dark hair and the bearing of someone who's seen combat. They're looking at a manila folder spread open on the desk, and even from the doorway I can see Tyler's face staring up from what looks like a police mugshot. "Come in," Mr. Ashford says without looking up. "Close the door." I do, my hands trembling. The office is different from the study, more utilitarian. There are maps on one wall with pins stuck in various locations. A safe is built into the wall behind the desk, its door currently closed. The desk itself is covered with papers, files, and 3 different phones. This is where real work happens, where decisions are made that have nothing to do with the legitimate businesses listed on his website. "Mr. Ashford," I start, my voice barely above a whisper. Please. Whatever you're thinking of doing, don't. I'll handle this legally. I've already filed a police report. I don't want anyone to get hurt because of me. He finally looks up, and his expression stops the words in my throat. Miss Chen, he says, and there's something almost sad in his voice. Has anyone ever told you that you apologize too much for things that aren't your fault? I don't know how to answer that. I just don't want to be a burden, I manage. You're not a burden, he says, moving around the desk to stand in front of me. You're someone who deserves to feel safe in her own life. Let me handle this. But I can see Marcus looking concerned, his jaw tight, and I know there's more to this than Mr. Ashford is saying. He turns back to the folder, flipping through pages, and I can see his expression darkening with each one. Tyler Morrison, age 34, he says, his voice flat. 3 prior arrests for domestic violence. First victim dropped charges after her apartment was broken into, and she received threatening calls. Second victim left the state and refused to cooperate with prosecution. Third victim took a cash settlement and signed an NDA. Your police report, filed 2 days ago, has been mysteriously delayed in processing. Someone paid to slow it down. He looks at me, and I can see rage simmering behind his controlled exterior. He's currently violating a restraining order from a woman named Jessica Palmer, who filed hers 6 months ago after he put her in the hospital. The bruise on my face suddenly feels like it's burning. I didn't know, I whisper. I knew he had a temper, but I didn't know about the others. Marcus clears his throat. Boss, we need to be careful here. The Moretti family has been watching for any excuse to move on our territory. Making a civilian disappear could give them ammunition. Then we don't make mistakes, Mr. Ashford says simply, and the cold certainty in his voice makes my blood run cold. What's the play? Marcus asks. And I realize I'm witnessing something I shouldn't, something that civilians don't get to see. By noon tomorrow, Tyler Morrison is a ghost, Mr. Ashford says. No body, no evidence, no questions. He just disappears. People like him don't deserve second chances. And the girl, Marcus asks, glancing at me. Mr. Ashford is quiet for a long moment. She stays here. Guest suite. I want 24/7 security on her until we confirm Morrison can't hurt anyone else. I should protest. I should insist on going back to Emma's apartment, on handling this myself, on not getting further entangled in whatever world Mr. Ashford operates in. But the truth is, I'm terrified. Tyler knows where Emma lives. He knows where I work, obviously, since he'd driven me here during the brief good period of our relationship when he was still pretending to be supportive. He knows my routines, my friends, my favorite coffee shop. And if what Mr. Ashford says is true, if Tyler has hurt other women and gotten away with it, then my police report won't protect me. The legal system has already failed his previous victims. Why would I be any different? I find myself nodding, even though every rational part of my brain is screaming that this is insane. Okay, I hear myself say. Okay. The rest of the morning passes in a blur. Marcus makes phone calls, speaking in code that I don't understand, but that makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Mr. Ashford works at his computer, his fingers flying over the keyboard, pulling up information that I'm certain isn't legally obtained. I sit in a chair by the window, watching the clouds finally break and weak sunlight spill across the gardens, feeling like I've stepped through a door into a different world. At one point, Mrs. Rivera brings lunch on a tray, and Mr. Ashford insists I eat even though my stomach is in knots. He eats nothing himself, too focused on whatever he's planning. I pick at a sandwich that probably tastes amazing, but might as well be cardboard for all I can appreciate it. By noon, Marcus receives a call that makes him nod slowly. He hangs up and looks at Mr. Ashford. It's confirmed. Morrison is at his apartment. He's alone. He ordered delivery about an hour ago, so he's planning to stay in. We have a window. Mr. Ashford stands, rolling his shoulders like an athlete preparing for a game. He looks at me, and for the first time since this morning, his expression softens slightly. Miss Chen, I'm going to have Marcus escort you to the guest suite. It's on the 3rd floor, east wing. You'll be comfortable there. If you need anything, there's a phone that connects directly to security. Do not leave the estate. Do not contact anyone, including your sister, until I tell you it's safe. Do you understand? I nod, because what else can I do? He's already set things in motion. Tyler's fate was sealed the moment I said his name. Part of me knows I should feel guilty, should feel horror at what's about to happen, but all I feel is a strange, detached numbness. How many other women did Tyler hurt? How many other black eyes and split lips and worse? If the legal system won't stop him, then maybe someone needs to operate outside it. Marcus takes my elbow gently, guiding me toward the door. As we're leaving, I hear Mr. Ashford on the phone again, his voice low and cold. I need the team ready in 20 minutes, he says. Full protocol. No traces. And I want confirmation by 1800 hours. The guest suite is larger than Emma's entire apartment. There's a bedroom with a bed that looks like it belongs in a luxury hotel, a sitting area with a couch and television, and a bathroom with a tub big enough to swim in. The windows overlook the gardens, and in the distance I can see the fence that surrounds the property, topped with cameras I never noticed before. Marcus shows me how to use the phone, how to lock the door from the inside, where the panic button is hidden under the nightstand. You're safe here, he tells me, and there's kindness in his eyes that makes me want to cry. The boss doesn't make promises he can't keep. When he's gone, I sink onto the couch and stare at my hands. They're shaking. Everything is shaking. 6 hours ago, I was just a maid dusting bookshelves, and now I'm in a guest suite under armed protection while my ex-boyfriend is being hunted by people who make people disappear without leaving evidence. I should call Emma. I should call the police. I should do something other than sit here and let this happen. But I don't. Instead, I curl up on the couch, still wearing my maid's uniform, and I wait. I wait as the afternoon sun tracks across the floor. I wait as shadows lengthen in the gardens. I wait as my phone buzzes with increasingly frantic texts from Emma asking where I am. I don't answer them. Mr. Ashford said not to contact anyone, and something tells me that disobeying him right now would be a very bad idea. At some point, Mrs. Rivera brings me clothes, a whole wardrobe in my size that she says she picked up from a boutique in town. There's also food, real food, not the sandwich I couldn't eat earlier. I manage a few bites, and then give up. My stomach is too twisted. It's nearly 6 in the evening when I hear footsteps in the hallway outside. I freeze, my heart hammering, until there's a knock, and Mr. Ashford's voice says my name. I open the door and he's standing there, still in his suit, but with his tie loosened and the top button of his shirt undone. He looks tired, but satisfied, like someone who's just completed a difficult but necessary task. It's done, he says simply. Tyler Morrison no longer poses a threat to you or anyone else. I want to ask what that means. I want to ask if he's dead, if his body is buried somewhere, if I'm now complicit in murder. But the words won't come. Instead, I just nod. And something in my chest that's been tight since Tyler first raised his hand to me finally loosens. Thank you, I whisper, and I mean it. The next morning I wake up in a bed so comfortable that for a moment I forget where I am, and then it all comes rushing back and I sit up too quickly, my heart racing. Sunlight streams through sheer curtains that I don't remember closing, and there's a smell of coffee coming from somewhere. I'm still in yesterday's clothes, wrinkled and uncomfortable, and my face aches where Tyler hit me. I stumble to the bathroom and stare at myself in the mirror. The bruise looks worse today, spreading further across my cheekbone, and my eye is still swollen. I look like exactly what I am, a woman who got beaten by someone who claimed to love her. There's a soft knock at the door, and Mrs. Rivera's voice calls out that she's brought breakfast and fresh clothes. I open the door and she wheels in a cart laden with more food than I could eat in a week. Scrambled eggs, toast, fresh fruit, juice, coffee in a silver pot that probably costs more than my monthly rent. She smiles at me with such genuine warmth that I feel tears prick my eyes. Mr. Ashford wants you to know that you're welcome to stay as long as you need, she says, setting up the breakfast on a small table by the window. He also asked me to give you these. She hands me a paper bag from a pharmacy, and when I look inside, I find prescription-strength pain medication, antibiotic cream, and something for swelling. He called his personal physician this morning, Mrs. Rivera continues. Dr. Martinez. He's on call if you need anything checked. I don't know what to say. Why is he doing all this? I finally ask. Why does he care? Mrs. Rivera's expression softens. Mr. Ashford has his reasons for everything he does, she says carefully. But if you want my opinion, I think he sees something in you. Something worth protecting. She leaves me to eat, and I pick at the food, my stomach still unsettled but my body demanding fuel. The eggs are perfect, the toast is homemade bread, the fruit tastes like it was picked this morning. I've been living on ramen and whatever was on sale at the grocery store, and this breakfast probably costs more than I spend on food in a week. It should make me uncomfortable. It should make me feel like I'm accepting charity I don't deserve. Instead, I find myself eating more than I have in days, and when I'm done, I feel almost human again. The clothes Mrs. Rivera brought fit perfectly, jeans and a soft sweater that's casual but clearly expensive. There are undergarments too, still with tags on, in exactly my size. I don't want to think about how they knew what size to buy. I change and apply the cream to my bruise, wincing at the tenderness but grateful for the relief it brings. I'm standing on the balcony, looking out at the gardens and trying to make sense of my situation, when there's another knock. This time, it's him. Damien Ashford, standing in my doorway in jeans and a black sweater, looking somehow more dangerous in casual clothes than he did in his suit. He's holding a tablet in one hand. May I come in? He asks, and I nod because this is his house and I'm just a guest, a temporary fixture who will leave as soon as this is over. He walks to the balcony and stands beside me, close enough that I can smell his cologne, that same expensive scent from his study. How are you feeling? He asks, and his eyes go to my bruise. Better, I say. Thank you for the medicine. For everything. Why are you doing all this? I blurt out, unable to help myself. I clean your house. We're not friends. We're not anything. He's quiet for a long moment, looking out at the gardens rather than at me. No, he finally says. We're not. Not yet. But from the moment I saw that bruise on your face, something in me shifted. I can't explain it. I just know that I won't stand by and let someone hurt you. People don't just help strangers without wanting something in return, I say. And I hate how cynical I sound, but life has taught me that nothing comes free. Then consider this an investment, he says, turning to look at me. I'm investing in your safety, your peace of mind. What I want in return is to see you smile without fear behind it. The words should sound manipulative, but they don't. They sound honest in a way that makes my chest ache. Before I can respond, he holds up the tablet. I wanted to show you this, he says. It's Tyler. The screen shows what looks like security footage from an airport. Tyler is there, going through security, looking nervous and disheveled. The timestamp says yesterday evening. He boarded a flight to Bangkok at 1900 hours, Damien continues. He withdrew all his savings before leaving, quit his job via email, and terminated his apartment lease. To anyone looking, it appears he fled the country, probably because of your police report and the other complaints that were suddenly processed. But he didn't choose to leave, I say slowly. You made him. Damien's expression doesn't change. Let's just say he was given a choice. Leave the country and start over with enough money to survive, or face consequences that would be significantly less pleasant. He chose survival. So he's alive, I whisper. He's alive, but he'll never come back. He's been placed on a no-fly list back to the States, Damien says. He's also been made aware that if he ever attempts to contact you or any of his previous victims, the people who arranged his travel will ensure he regrets it. He'll spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder in a country where he doesn't speak the language and has no connections. I should feel relief, And I do. But I also feel something else. Guilt, maybe? Or the weight of understanding what kind of power this man has. You could have killed him, I say. You could have made him disappear completely. Yes, Damien says simply. But you asked me not to hurt anyone because of you. So I didn't. This seemed like an appropriate middle ground. The fact that he listened, that he adjusted his plans because of what I said, does something strange to my heart. The rest of the day passes in a surreal haze. Mrs. Rivera fusses over me, bringing me books and magazines, making sure I have everything I need. Marcus stops by to tell me that my sister Emma has been informed I'm safe and staying with a friend, that she shouldn't worry. I'm given a new phone, prepaid and untraceable, with only a few numbers programmed in. Emma's number is there, as is one labeled simply security. In the afternoon, Damien finds me in the library, a massive room I'd stumbled into while exploring the parts of the house I'm apparently allowed to access. He's changed into slacks and a button-down shirt, looking more like the businessman I first saw yesterday. I'm holding a copy of The Count of Monte Cristo, one of my favorites, and he smiles when he sees it. Good choice, he says. Revenge and redemption. It seemed appropriate, I say, then immediately wish I hadn't because it sounds like I'm making light of what he did for me. He doesn't seem offended. He asks if I've eaten lunch, and when I admit I haven't, he insists on having something prepared. But instead of sending me back to my suite, he leads me to a smaller dining room I haven't seen before. It's less formal than the main dining room I've cleaned countless times, with a wooden table that seats maybe 8 and windows that overlook a courtyard with a fountain. Soft jazz plays from hidden speakers, and the lighting is warm and intimate. Over sandwiches that are somehow both simple and extraordinary, we talk. Really talk. He asks about my life, and I find myself telling him things I never tell anyone. About growing up in foster care after my mother overdosed when I was 12. About aging out of the system at 18 with nothing but a high school diploma and a determination to make something of myself. About working my way through community college, getting my business administration degree while working 2 jobs, only to discover that entry-level positions require 3 years of experience and connections I don't have. About the student loans that follow me like shadows, the medical bills from when I had pneumonia 2 years ago and couldn't afford to see a doctor until I was in the emergency room. Why did you become a maid instead of pursuing your degree? He asks, and there's no judgment in his voice, only genuine curiosity. Because student loans and medical bills don't care about your dreams, I say. You do what you need to survive, and this job pays better than retail. I get health insurance after 6 months. I was planning to save up, maybe take some night classes, try to get certified in something that would open more doors. He listens without interrupting, without offering empty platitudes about how things will get better or how I should stay positive. When I'm done, he tells me about himself, about losing his father at 19 to a heart attack, about suddenly inheriting a business empire he never wanted, about discovering that much of his father's wealth came from operations that existed in legal gray areas and sometimes crossed into darkness, about having to choose between dismantling everything and putting hundreds of people out of work or learning the business and trying to make it better. I couldn't abandon it, he says. Too many people depended on the organization. Employees, their families, the legitimate businesses that were tangled up with the rest. So I learned. I made it more legitimate where I could. But some parts, some operations, they exist because the world isn't fair, and sometimes people need help that the law won't provide. Like me, I say quietly. Like you, he agrees. His hand is resting on the table near mine, and I watch as he slowly reaches over and covers my hand with his. The touch is warm, solid, and it sends electricity up my arm. I should pull away. I should maintain distance, remember that this is temporary, that I'm just a maid he's helping out of some sense of duty or nobility, but I don't pull away. We sit there as the afternoon light shifts and the music plays, and something unspoken builds between us. Can I ask you something? I finally say. And will you answer honestly? I'll try, he says. What exactly do you do? I ask. Your business. Because I've worked here for 3 months and I've seen things. Deliveries at odd hours. Men who look like they've been in fights. And now this, making my ex disappear. What are you? He's quiet for a long time, his thumb absently stroking the back of my hand. I'm someone who operates outside the law when the law fails people, he finally says. My family has interests in various sectors, some legitimate, some less so. Real estate, import and export, private security. But we also handle problems for people who have nowhere else to turn, people who've been failed by the system. And yes, I have the power to make problems disappear. Does that frighten you? It should, I say honestly, but somehow it doesn't. What frightens me is how safe I feel here. With you. His eyes meet mine, and I see something in them that makes my breath catch. It's not the cold calculation I saw yesterday. It's heat and hunger and something almost vulnerable. I shouldn't feel safe with you, I continue. I should be running. But when I'm here, when you look at me like that, I feel safer than I've felt in years. Maybe ever. Olivia, he says, and my name in his voice sounds like something precious. I need you to understand something. This world I operate in, it's dangerous. People I've crossed, rival organizations, law enforcement. Getting close to me puts a target on your back. I know, I whisper. But I think that target was already there. Tyler wasn't my first mistake. He's just the most recent. And at least with you, I feel like someone is watching my back instead of waiting for me to fail. We end up talking for hours, until the sun sets and the courtyard lights come on, and Mrs. Rivera has to remind us that dinner is ready if we want it. We move to the informal dining room again, and the conversation continues, lighter now, touching on books and movies and the kind of small details that make a person real. I learn that he reads philosophy and history, that he thinks most movies are too predictable, but has a weakness for old film noir. He learns that I love thunderstorms and hate spiders, that I can cook, but rarely have the energy after work. At one point, I get up to refill my water glass, and I stumble slightly, still adjusting to the pain medication I took earlier. His hand shoots out to steady me, catching my elbow, and suddenly we're standing very close. I can feel the heat of him, smell his cologne mixed with something that's just him. His other hand comes up to cup my face, careful to avoid the bruise, and for a moment I think he's going to kiss me, but he doesn't. Instead, he just looks at me, his thumb brushing my cheekbone, and says, "You're stronger than you know." The moment breaks when his phone buzzes with a message. He checks it, his expression darkening, and I know something has changed. "What is it?" I ask. "A complication," he says. "Nothing you need to worry about tonight. But tomorrow we may need to discuss your security arrangements." "The Morettis?" I ask, remembering Marcus mentioning that name yesterday. He looks surprised that I know the name. "You heard that," he says. "It's not a question." "I heard a lot yesterday," I admit. "I know I wasn't supposed to, but I couldn't exactly leave." He nods slowly. "Yes, the Morettis. They're a rival organization, and they've been looking for any excuse to challenge my territory. Tyler's disappearance may have given them that excuse." "So helping me caused you problems," I say, guilt washing over me. "Helping you was the right thing to do," he says firmly. "The Morettis were going to make a move eventually. You're not the cause. You're just the excuse." "There's a difference." "But I could leave," I say. "Go somewhere far away, take my sister and disappear." Then they'd have no leverage. His expression turns almost fierce. "No," he says. "You're not running. Not from them, not from this. You're under my protection, and that's not negotiable." The intensity in his voice, in his eyes, makes me understand that this isn't just about helping a vulnerable employee anymore. Something has shifted between us, something neither of us planned, but both of us feel. That night, I lie in the guest bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. 24 hours ago, I was terrified and alone and convinced my life was falling apart. Now I'm in a mansion, protected by a man who operates outside the law, feeling safer than I have in years. It should be wrong. It should feel like trading one dangerous situation for another. But it doesn't. It feels like maybe, finally, I've found somewhere I belong. The second day dawns gray and heavy with clouds that threaten rain, and I wake to find a text on my new phone from Damien saying that everything is handled, that Tyler is gone and won't be coming back, and that we should talk this afternoon. I spend the morning in a strange state of suspended animation, pacing the guest suite, trying to read but unable to focus, my mind circling around the same questions over and over. What did they do to him? Where is he now? Am I complicit in whatever happened? Should I feel worse than I do? Mrs. Rivera brings me lunch, but I can barely eat, my stomach tied in knots that have nothing to do with hunger. It's almost 2 in the afternoon when Damien finds me in the library again, standing by the window and watching the grounds crew work on the gardens below. He's wearing dark jeans and a gray sweater that makes his eyes look almost black, and there's a tension in his shoulders that wasn't there yesterday. "It's done," he says without preamble. Tyler Morrison no longer exists in any meaningful way. I turn to face him fully. "Did you kill him?" I ask, and my voice is steadier than I expected. I need to know the truth. "No," he says, and I believe him because lying now would serve no purpose. But he'll wish I had. He's alive, far away, and will spend the next decade working off his debts to people less forgiving than me. "What does that mean?" I ask. "It means he's on a cargo ship bound for Southeast Asia," Damien explains. "He'll arrive in 3 days at a port where he'll be put to work in a labor camp. Not slavery exactly, but close enough. He'll be paid barely enough to survive, housed in conditions that will make his apartment look like luxury, and watched constantly to ensure he doesn't try to leave. The people who run these operations don't take kindly to troublemakers, and Tyler's history of violence means he'll be on a very short leash. If he behaves, if he keeps his head down and works hard, he might earn his freedom in 10 or 15 years. If he doesn't, well, accidents happen in dangerous workplaces. I should feel guilty. I should be horrified. But all I feel is free," I hear myself say. Does that make me a terrible person? He crosses the room until he's standing close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from him. "It makes you human," he says gently. "You don't owe monsters your compassion." "And you?" I ask, looking up into his eyes. "Are you a monster?" "Sometimes," he admits, "when I need to be. But never to you." The words should terrify me, but instead they make me feel safer, like he's drawing a line around me and daring the world to cross it. He tells me more, details that probably aren't necessary, but that he seems to think I deserve to know. Tyler's apartment was cleaned out by a professional crew, his belongings donated or destroyed. His truck was sold to a chop shop and no longer exists. His bank accounts were emptied, the money used to pay off some of his victims as anonymous donations. His job received a resignation email sent from his own account. His social media was scrubbed, too. Anyone looking, it appears he realized the police were closing in and he fled to avoid prosecution. Meanwhile, my police report was mysteriously fast-tracked. The detective assigned to it suddenly found all the evidence he needed to issue a warrant. A restraining order was granted, even though Tyler is officially missing. If he ever does surface, if he ever makes it back to the States somehow, he'll be arrested on sight. "Your record is clean," Damien says. "You're listed as a victim who cooperated fully with law enforcement. There's nothing to connect you to his disappearance, except the coincidental timing." "How did you do all that?" I ask. How do you have that kind of power? Money opens doors, he says simply. And knowing which doors to open, which people to pay, which favors to call in. I've spent years building a network of contacts in useful places. Some are on my payroll. Some owe me favors. Some are just pragmatic enough to understand that sometimes the law needs a little help to work the way it should. We stand there in the library as rain begins to patter against the windows, and I realize that I've crossed a line I can't uncross. I know too much now. I've benefited from his power, from his willingness to operate outside the law. That makes me complicit, makes me part of his world, whether I intended to be or not. The thought should frighten me, but instead it feels almost liberating, like I've been pretending to live in a world of rules and fairness that never actually existed, and now I can stop pretending. That evening, Damien suggests we take a walk in the gardens before dinner. The rain has stopped and the air smells fresh and clean, everything green and glistening. String lights have been turned on in the trees, creating a soft glow as twilight settles over the estate. The scent of jasmine is heavy in the air, almost intoxicating. We walk in silence for a while, following paths between perfectly manicured hedges and flower beds that probably require a full-time staff to maintain. I'm acutely aware of his presence beside me, the way our hands almost brush as we walk. The tension between us has been building for 2 days now, unspoken but undeniable. I feel like I've known you much longer than 2 days, I finally say. Like somehow this was always going to happen. He stops walking and turns to face me. I know what you mean, he says. From the moment I saw you in my study, something changed. I can't explain it. I've helped people before, intervened when I saw injustice. But with you, it was different. It was personal in a way I didn't expect and still don't fully understand. Maybe because I've been where you are, I say. Not exactly the same, but close enough. Alone, scared, trying to survive in a world that doesn't care if you make it or not. Maybe you saw something in me that you recognized. Maybe, he says. Or maybe I just saw you. Really saw you. And couldn't look away. He reaches up and tucks a strand of hair behind my ear, his fingers lingering against my cheek. The touch is gentle, almost reverent, and it makes my breath catch. The bruise on my face has started to fade, turning from deep purple to a mottled yellow-green, but his fingers carefully avoid it. We're standing very close now, close enough that I can see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, close enough that I could lean forward just slightly, and our lips would meet. The air between us feels electric, charged with possibility. His hand slides from my cheek to cup the back of my neck, his thumb stroking the sensitive skin there, and I think this is it. This is the moment. But then I hear rapid footsteps on the gravel path and Marcus's voice calling Damien's name with an urgency that makes us both turn. "Boss," Marcus says, slightly out of breath. "We have a problem." The moment shatters like glass, and I can see Damien's expression shift from open and vulnerable to closed and controlled in an instant. "What is it?" he asks, his hand dropping from my neck, but his body still angled protectively toward me. "We need to talk inside," Marcus says, glancing at me apologetically. "It's about the Morrison situation." The three of us walk back to the house in tense silence, and I can feel my earlier peace evaporating, replaced by a creeping dread. We end up in Damien's office, the war room as I've started thinking of it, with its maps and monitors and phones. Marcus closes the door and pulls out a folder. Detective Sarah Chen from the Organized Crime Unit has been asking questions about Tyler Morrison's disappearance, he says without preamble. She's smart, connected him to Olivia through the police report, connected Olivia to you through her employment here. She came by this afternoon wanting to interview Olivia about the last time she saw Morrison. I told her Olivia was unavailable, but she's persistent. She'll be back. That's manageable, Damien says. We expected law enforcement interest. What else? The Morettis, Marcus continues. They're spreading rumors that you're going soft, that you made a move without proper authorization from the council. They're saying you eliminated a civilian without clearing it through proper channels, that you're becoming unstable and putting the organization at risk. Vincent Moretti has requested a meeting tomorrow night. He wants to discuss territories and recent boundary oversteps. It's a power play, Damien says flatly. What are they proposing? Marcus hands him a document. They want you to cede control of the port operations and 2 of the downtown properties. In exchange, they'll overlook the Morrison incident and support your continued leadership. If you refuse, they're threatening to call a vote of no confidence with the other families. This is because of me, I say, my voice small. Because you helped me. Damien turns to look at me, and his expression softens slightly. This would have happened eventually, he says. They've been looking for an excuse. You're just the spark, not the fuel. But I am the excuse, I insist. If you hadn't helped me, if you'd just let me handle it myself, they wouldn't have anything to use against you. If I'd let you handle it yourself, you'd still be in danger, Damien says. Tyler would still be out there, and the Morettis would have found some other excuse because that's what they do. They probe for weakness, they test boundaries, they look for any opportunity to expand their territory. This confrontation was coming whether you were here or not. What happens at this meeting? I ask. Either we reach an understanding or things escalate, Damien says grimly. Either way, you can't be here when it happens. I'm sending you somewhere safe. Marcus has a safe house upstate. You'll stay there with security until this is resolved. I'm not running, I say, and I'm surprised by the strength in my own voice. Not again. I've spent my whole life running from one bad situation to another. I'm not doing it anymore. Olivia, this isn't like Tyler, Damien says. The Morettis are dangerous. They're a rival organization with resources that match mine. If things go badly tomorrow night, if they decide to make a move against me, anyone close to me becomes a target. They could use you as leverage. Then teach me how not to be a liability, I say. Give me security training or whatever you need to do. But I'm not leaving. I'm not going to hide while you deal with problems that exist because you helped me. You're not a liability, he says, his voice rough. You're someone I care about, someone I need to keep safe. And you think sending me away will do that? I ask. You think if the Morettis really want to get to you, a safe house upstate is going to stop them? You think I'll be able to just sit there wondering if you're alive or dead, if this meeting went wrong, if I'll ever see you again? The thought of that, of being separated from you right now, is worse than any danger I might face here. He looks at me for a long moment, something warring in his expression. Marcus clears his throat. Boss, she's not wrong. If the Morettis want leverage, they'll find it. And honestly, keeping her close where we can protect her directly might be smarter than hiding her somewhere they could potentially track her to. We have better security here than anywhere else. Damien runs a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration that makes him look younger, more human. Fine, he finally says. But you stay in the secure wing during the meeting. Armed guards at your door. And if things go wrong, if I give the signal, Marcus gets you out immediately. No arguments, no heroics. Agreed. I nod, even though I have no idea what I've just agreed to. The rest of the evening is tense. Damien makes calls, speaks in low voices to people whose names I don't catch. Marcus briefs the security team, and I catch glimpses of men and women checking weapons, studying maps of the estate, preparing for something that looks an awful lot like a small war. Mrs. Rivera brings me dinner in my suite, but I can barely eat. I keep thinking about tomorrow night, about this meeting with the Morettis, about what might happen. Around 10, there's a knock on my door. It's Damien, looking exhausted. Can I come in? He asks. I step aside and he enters, closing the door behind him. He doesn't say anything, just crosses the room and pulls me into his arms. I freeze for a moment, surprised, then melt into the embrace. He's solid and warm and his heart is beating fast against my cheek. "I'm sorry," he says into my hair. "I'm sorry you got pulled into this. I'm sorry my world is so complicated and dangerous. I'm sorry that helping you created problems that now put you at risk." "That's the most backward apology I've ever heard," I say, my voice muffled against his chest. "You're apologizing for helping me, for saving me from someone who was hurting me. That's insane." "Maybe," he says, "but it's how I feel. You deserve better than this. Better than me." I pull back enough to look up at him. "What if I don't want better?" I ask. "What if I want exactly this? Exactly you, complicated and dangerous and all?" His eyes search mine. "You don't know what you're saying. You've known me 2 days. 2 intense, life-changing days," I counter. "I've learned more about you in 48 hours than I learned about Tyler in 6 months. I know you're someone who sees injustice and acts. I know you're capable of terrible things, but you use that capability to protect people who can't protect themselves. I know you're honest, even when honesty makes you look bad. I know that when you look at me, I feel seen in a way I never have before. And I know that tomorrow night you're walking into a dangerous meeting, and I might lose you before I ever really have you. So yes, maybe it's too soon. Maybe I'm being reckless, but I'm tired of playing it safe and ending up hurt anyway." He kisses me then, finally, and it's nothing like I expected. It's not gentle or tentative. It's fierce and desperate and full of everything we haven't said. His hands frame my face, careful of my fading bruise, and I grab his sweater and pull him closer. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. "Whatever happens tomorrow," he says, "you need to know that you matter to me. More than is probably wise. More than is certainly safe. But you matter. You matter to me too," I whisper. "So come back to me. Promise me you'll come back." "I promise," he says. And then he kisses me again, softer this time, like he's memorizing the taste of me. When he finally leaves, I lie in bed staring at the ceiling, my lips still tingling, my heart racing with fear and hope and something that feels dangerously like love. The next evening arrives too quickly, and I spend the day in a state of controlled panic, trying to distract myself with books and television, but unable to focus on anything except the approaching meeting. Mrs. Rivera brings me an early dinner that I push around my plate without eating, and at 6, Marcus arrives to escort me to what he calls the secure wing. The suite I've been staying in is apparently not secure enough for tonight. The secure wing is on the second floor in a part of the estate I haven't seen before, accessible only through a reinforced door that requires both a keycard and a fingerprint scan. Marcus shows me to a room that looks normal enough at first glance, comfortable furniture and soft lighting, but then he shows me the panic room hidden behind what looks like a closet door. It's small and stark, concrete walls and a heavy steel door, with monitors showing feeds from cameras all over the estate and a phone hardwired into the wall. Emergency supplies are stacked in one corner, enough food and water for several days. "If anything goes wrong, if you hear gunfire or alarms, you get in here immediately," Marcus instructs. "Lock the door from the inside. This phone connects directly to my cell and to emergency services. Don't come out until either Damien or I personally come to get you. Understood?" I nod, my mouth too dry to speak. He squeezes my shoulder gently. "It's going to be fine," he says, but I can hear the doubt underneath his confidence. The boss knows what he's doing. 2 guards are posted outside my door, both armed with weapons they don't bother to hide. I recognize one of them from around the estate, a woman named Sophia, who's always been polite when we've crossed paths. Now she looks like a different person, hard-eyed and alert, a pistol visible at her hip. I settle onto the couch and try to read, but the words blur together. At 7:30, I hear vehicles approaching, multiple engines, and I go to the window even though I know I shouldn't. I can see two black SUVs pulling up to the front entrance, and men climbing out. At least 6 of them plus 2, who must be the Morettis, based on the way the others defer to them. The older man is silver-haired and moves with the confidence of someone used to being obeyed. The younger one is dark-haired and handsome in a cruel way, with a swagger that makes my skin crawl even from this distance. I watch as Damien meets them at the entrance, flanked by Marcus and 2 other security personnel. Even from here I can see the tension in his shoulders, the careful control in his movements. They disappear inside and I'm left staring at empty cars and the guards the Morettis left posted outside. The next hour is torture. I pace the room, sit down, stand up, check my phone even though there's nothing to check. The monitors in the panic room show various views of the estate, but none of them show the formal dining room where the meeting is happening. I imagine 1,000 different scenarios, each worse than the last. At 8:45, everything goes wrong. I hear raised voices first, muffled but angry, coming from somewhere below. Then I hear what sounds like furniture being overturned, the crash of something breaking. Sophia, the guard outside my door, immediately goes on alert, speaking rapidly into her radio. "Miss Chen," she calls through the door. "I need you to get into the panic room now." But I don't move fast enough because suddenly there's the sound of gunfire, sharp cracks that echo through the building, and Sophia is pushing the door open and physically hauling me toward the closet. "The panic room," she shouts. "Now!" I stumble into the small concrete space and she slams the door behind me, and I hear the locks engage from the outside. The monitors inside show chaos. Men running through hallways, weapons drawn. More gunfire. I can see the front entrance where Moretti's guards are trying to get inside and Damien's security is holding them back. I can see a hallway that must lead to the dining room, smoke or dust hanging in the air. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely work the phone, but I manage to call Marcus. His voice when he answers is tight with stress. "Are you secure?" he asks. "I'm in the panic room," I say. "What's happening?" "Stay there," he orders. "Do not come out." I can hear gunfire in the background of his call. We've got the situation contained, but it's messy. The Morettis made a move and we're dealing with it. "This is my fault," I say, tears streaming down my face now. "I should have left. I should have gone to the safe house. I should have never told Damien about Tyler in the first place." "You should have been protected by the law in the first place," Marcus says fiercely. "You should have been safe. None of this is your fault. The boss knows that, but now you need to trust that he'll handle this." The call cuts off and I'm left alone with the monitors, watching the violence play out in silent security footage. I see Marcus in one feed, firing at someone off-screen, then ducking behind a corner. I see other guards whose names I don't know, working in coordinated pairs to hold positions throughout the house. I see broken windows and overturned furniture and everything beautiful about this estate being torn apart by men with guns. And then on one monitor I see Damien himself, in what must be the formal dining room, facing off against the silver-haired man who has to be Vincent Moretti. They're shouting at each other, but I can't hear the words. Julian, the younger Moretti, is there too, and even on the grainy security feed I can see the cruel twist of his mouth as he says something that makes Damien's whole body go rigid. Then Julian turns and gestures toward the door, and I realize with dawning horror that he's sending men to find me, that I've become a target, a piece on the board to be captured and used. I watch on the monitors as 3 men split off from the main group and head toward the secure wing. I watch as they encounter Sophia and the other guard in the hallway. The guards don't hesitate, opening fire immediately, and the Moretti men return fire. Sophia goes down, hit in the shoulder, but she keeps fighting. The other guard drags her to cover, and they hold the hallway, preventing the Moretti men from advancing. Then Marcus appears in the feed, coming from a different direction, and the Moretti men are caught between 2 firing positions. It's brutal and efficient and over in less than a minute. 2 of the Moretti men are on the ground not moving. The third has his hands up in surrender. I'm shaking violently now, my teeth chattering. unable to look away from the monitors. Sophia is being helped up by another guard, blood soaking through her shirt, but she's alive and moving. Marcus is securing the surrendered man, zip ties around his wrists, and then everything stops. The gunfire cuts off suddenly, eerily silent after the chaos. I see men lowering their weapons, confusion on their faces. On the monitor showing the front entrance, I see new vehicles arriving, and my heart sinks further because this must be reinforcements for the Morettis. This must be the moment where everything falls apart completely. But then I see who's climbing out of the lead vehicle, and my confusion deepens. It's a woman in a dark pantsuit with a badge clipped to her belt. Police. Several officers behind her, also armed but with their weapons holstered. They're not storming in, they're approaching carefully, and I can see Damien's guards standing down, letting them approach. The woman is speaking into a radio, and on one of the other monitors I see Damien in the dining room, his phone to his ear, his expression a mask of cold control. The Morettis look furious, but they're not shooting anymore because you can't shoot police officers without consequences, even they can't escape. Marcus appears at the panic room door about 10 minutes later, looking exhausted and sporting a cut on his forehead. "It's safe," he says. "You can come out. But we have another situation. The police are here." I emerge on shaking legs into a hallway that smells of gunpowder and has bullet holes in the walls. Sophia is being treated by a medic, her shoulder bandaged, but she gives me a weak smile when she sees me. The secure wing looks like a war zone. We're taken downstairs, not to the dining room, but to a parlor near the front entrance, where the woman with the badge is waiting. She's Asian, maybe 40, with sharp eyes that miss nothing. "Detective Sarah Chen," she introduces herself, and there's irony in the shared last name that I'm too stressed to appreciate. "Someone want to explain why my missing persons case just led me to what looks like the beginning of a gang war?" Damien is there, his suit jacket gone and his shirt sleeve torn, but otherwise he looks unharmed. His eyes find mine immediately, and I see relief flash across his face before the mask returns. "Detective," he says smoothly. "What an unexpected pleasure. I'm afraid you've caught us in the middle of a security drill. My apologies for any concern." "Save it, Ashford," Detective Chen says flatly. "I know Tyler Morrison is connected to one of your employees." She gestures at me. "I know he disappeared the same day you learned about him, and I know the Morettis don't make social calls. So, let's skip the part where you insult my intelligence and get to the part where you explain why I shouldn't arrest everyone in this building." Vincent Moretti steps forward, his silver hair still perfectly styled despite the chaos. "Detective Chen, such a pleasure," he says with oily charm. "I'm afraid there's been a terrible misunderstanding. We came here tonight to discuss business matters with Mr. Ashford, and his security team overreacted to our presence. An unfortunate miscommunication." "Is that why your men tried to breach his secure wing?" Detective Chen asks. "Is that why one of his guards is being treated for a gunshot wound? Is that why I counted at least 40 rounds fired, based on the shell casings outside? Seems like quite an overreaction." The tension in the room is suffocating. Damien and Vincent are staring at each other with barely concealed hatred. Julian looks like he wants to finish what he started, his hand twitching toward a weapon that's no longer there. Marcus is positioned between me and the Morettis, his body language making it clear he'll move if they try anything. I'm the one who speaks, surprising everyone including myself. "Tyler Morrison beat me," I say, my voice stronger than I feel. "2 days ago, I filed a police report. Mr. Ashford learned about it because I work for him and he noticed my injuries. He helped me. That's it. That's the whole story. If Tyler disappeared, maybe he ran because he knew the police were closing in." Detective Chen's eyes focus on me, taking in the fading bruise on my face. "You're Olivia Chen," she says. "The victim in the report." I nod, and Tyler Morrison just happened to disappear the same day his victim's employer, who has documented connections to organized crime, learned about the abuse, she says skeptically. "That's quite a coincidence." "Sometimes coincidences happen," I say. Or maybe sometimes abusers are cowards who run when they face consequences. I wouldn't know where Tyler went. I just know I'm safe now. And I'm grateful for that. Detective Chen studies me for a long moment. Then she looks at Damien. I'm going to need statements from everyone here, she says, about tonight's incident. And I'll be following up on the Morrison case. If I find any evidence that he was harmed, that he didn't leave of his own free will, there will be consequences. Understood. Understood, Damien says calmly. She turns to Vincent. And you, Mr. Moretti, I suggest you take your people and leave. Whatever business you have with Mr. Ashford can be conducted in a less destructive manner, or I can arrest you all for disturbing the peace and let you sort it out from holding cells. Vincent's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Of course, Detective. We were just leaving. He looks at Damien one more time. This isn't over, his expression says clearly. We'll be in touch, Mr. Ashford, he says aloud. I'm sure we can resolve our territorial disputes in a more civilized manner. Perhaps with input from the other families. I look forward to it, Damien says, and his tone makes it clear he's looking forward to no such thing. The Morettis leave, their remaining men gathering their wounded and retreating to their vehicles. Detective Chen stays longer, taking statements, examining the damage, making notes that I'm certain will come back to haunt us. But eventually, she leaves too with a warning to Damien that she'll be watching him closely. When everyone is finally gone and it's just Damien, Marcus, the remaining security team, and me, the adrenaline that's been keeping me upright suddenly drains away. My knees buckle and Damien catches me before I fall. I've got you, he murmurs, lifting me easily. I've got you. He carries me back upstairs, not to the secure wing, but to his own rooms, a suite I've never seen before. He sets me on his bed and I start crying, great shaking sobs that I can't control. He holds me through it, not saying anything, just being there. When I finally calm down enough to speak, the words come tumbling out. This is my fault, I say. They know about me now. They know I'm your weakness. Vincent saw your face when Julian threatened me. I've made you vulnerable. You haven't made me anything, he says firmly. They would have found some excuse to challenge me eventually. The only thing you've done is make me realize what's truly worth protecting. But I am a weakness, I insist. Julian was right about that. You might be, he admits, but you're also a strength. You make me remember why I do this, why I took over my father's organization instead of walking away. It's not about money or power. It's about protecting people who can't protect themselves. You reminded me of that. We sit there in his bedroom as the estate slowly returns to normal around us. Security teams checking perimeters, cleaning crews dealing with the damage, medical personnel treating the wounded. And I realize that this is my life now, this world of violence and danger and moral ambiguity. I can walk away if I want to. Damien would let me go, would set me up somewhere safe, would never hold tonight against me. But I don't want to walk away. Despite everything, despite the fear and the chaos and the knowledge that I'll always be a potential target, I want to stay. Because here, in his arms, in this damaged, beautiful estate, surrounded by people who've proven they'll fight to protect me, I feel more at home than I ever have in my life. The study feels different after everyone leaves. Quieter, almost sacred after the chaos. The fire Damien builds in the fireplace casts warm shadows on the walls. A stark contrast to the cold, fluorescent lights of the panic room where I spent the most terrifying hour of my life. He pours us both whiskey, hands shaking slightly as he passes me the glass. It's the first time I've seen his composure truly crack. We sit in silence for a long time processing. Sophia is going to be fine. The bullet went clean through her shoulder, no permanent damage. 2 of Moretti's men are in the hospital, 1 in critical condition. The surrendered man is being held somewhere I don't ask about, awaiting Vincent's ransom negotiation. The estate looks like a war zone in places, but Marcus assures us it can be repaired within a week. Detective Chen's card sits on Damien's desk, a reminder that the outside world is still watching. I need to tell you something, Damien says finally, his voice rough. And I need you to really hear it, not just listen to it. I set down my glass and turn to face him fully. You can leave, he says. Not just tonight, not just the estate, this whole life, me, all of it. He stands and walks to his desk, pulling out a folder I've never seen before. I had my lawyers prepare this weeks ago, after the first time we had dinner together, before anything happened between us. He hands me the folder and I open it with trembling hands. Inside are documents, a bank account in my name with enough money to live comfortably for years, contact information for a relocation specialist who can help me start over anywhere in the world, a new identity package if I want it, letters of recommendation for jobs in my field using references that can't be traced back to him. I'm giving you a choice, Olivia, a real one, he says. You can walk away from all of this, from me, from the danger, from the complications. I'll set you up anywhere you want to go. New identity if you want it, enough money that you'll never have to worry about rent or bills again. You'll be safe. You'll be free. Or, I ask, my voice barely a whisper, or you stay. He kneels in front of me, taking my hands in his. You stay knowing exactly what my life involves. The danger. Tonight proved that's real. The moral compromises. We both know what happened to Tyler, even if we don't say it. The reality that I'm not a good man by conventional standards. I've done things that would horrify you if you knew the details. I'll do more things. That won't change. His eyes are intense, burning with emotion he's not trying to hide anymore. You stay, and we build something together, he continues. Whatever that looks like. But you need to understand that choosing me means choosing all of it. The violence, the danger, the moral gray areas. I won't lie to you or pretend I'm something I'm not. This is who I am. I look down at the folder in my lap, at the carefully prepared escape route he's offering. It's genuine, I can see that. He would let me go, would help me disappear, would never contact me again if that's what I wanted. He's giving me what Tyler never did, what no one ever has, the power to choose my own path without manipulation or coercion. Tears stream down my face as I realize what his offer means. He's willing to lose me to keep me safe. He's putting my well-being above his own feelings. It's the most loving thing anyone has ever done for me. Do you know why I answered that job posting to work here? I ask, my voice shaking. I saw it online, this position for a live-in maid at a wealthy estate, and I almost didn't apply. It seemed too good to be true, full room and board, decent salary, health insurance, but I was tired, Damien, so tired. I take a shaky breath, tired of barely surviving, tired of being afraid, tired of being alone, tired of working 3 jobs and still not making rent. Tired of men who saw me as something to use and discard. Tired of a system that didn't care when I called for help. I applied because I thought maybe, just maybe, I could have one small corner of safety in this world. I look up at him, meeting his eyes. And then you asked me about my black eye. You, this dangerous man, who I should have been afraid of, who everyone warned me about. You asked, and you didn't just offer sympathy. You offered action. You saw me, really saw me, and decided I was worth protecting, worth more than I believed I was worth. You were always worth it, he says fiercely. Maybe, I say, but you made me believe it. You made me feel like I matter, like my safety and happiness are important. You gave me power when I had none. You treated me with respect when the world taught me not to expect any. I close the folder and set it aside. So no, I'm not walking away. I'm not taking the escape route, as generous and genuine as it is. I'm choosing you, and I'm choosing this life, complicated as it is, because for the first time, I'm not just surviving, I'm living. His control breaks and he pulls me into his arms, holding me so tightly I can barely breathe. I feel his shoulders shaking and realize he's crying too, silently, with relief, and something that feels like joy. You're sure? he asks against my hair. Olivia, you need to be absolutely sure. Once we commit to this, once you're publicly known as mine, you become a permanent target. The Morettis won't forget tonight. There will be others who try to use you against me. I can protect you. I will protect you. But I can't eliminate every risk. I'm sure, I say. But I need you to understand something too. I'm not staying as the victim you rescued. I'm not staying as the maid you took pity on. If I'm choosing this life, I'm choosing it as your partner, your equal, someone who stands beside you, not behind you. He pulls back to look at me, and I see surprise in his eyes. I have a degree in business administration, I continue. I can read contracts and financial statements. I can manage operations and handle negotiations. The legitimate side of your business, at least. Let me be useful. Let me contribute. Don't just protect me. Trust me. A slow smile spreads across his face. You want to work for me? Officially? With you, I correct. Not for you. I've seen your operation. You're brilliant at the strategic side, but your legitimate businesses are poorly managed. That real estate portfolio you mentioned? It's leaving money on the table. Your charitable foundation is structured inefficiently for tax purposes. Your investment diversification is risky. He laughs, a genuine sound of delight. Have you been analyzing my finances? I had a lot of time in that panic room, I say. The monitors showed some of your file folders when Marcus was in your office. I may have used the zoom function. You're incredible, he says, and kisses me. It's different from before, not desperate or tentative, but certain. A promise and a commitment. When we break apart, he's still smiling. All right, partner. We'll do this together. But right now, tonight, I just need to hold you. To know you're safe. To believe this is real. We move to his bedroom, the one I've never seen before. It's surprisingly simple. Elegant, but not ostentatious. A large bed with dark sheets, a wall of windows overlooking the gardens, bookshelves filled with a mixture of business texts and classic literature. Photos on the dresser show a younger Damien with an older man who must be his father, stern and imposing. Another photo shows Marcus and Damien, both in their 20s, laughing at something off camera. Tell me about your father, I say as we lie together, my head on his chest, his arms around me. He's quiet for a long moment. He was complicated, ruthless in business, both legitimate and otherwise. But he had a code. He believed in protecting people who couldn't protect themselves, in honoring agreements, in loyalty. He built an empire, but he never forgot where he came from. Do you miss him? Every day. He died 5 years ago. Heart attack, ironically enough. Nothing violent or dramatic. Just gone. His arms tighten around me. He would have liked you. He always said the strongest people are the ones who survive impossible situations and still maintain their humanity. Is that what I did? You're doing it right now. You should hate men like me. You should run as far as possible from this world. Instead, you're choosing to stay and build something good within it. That takes incredible strength. We fall asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and for the first time since Tyler's first raised hand, I sleep without nightmares. The weeks that follow are a whirlwind of change. True to his word, Damien makes me a legitimate partner in his business operations. I move into an office adjacent to his, connected by a door but separate, symbolizing the balance we're building. During the day, I manage his real estate holdings, restructure his investments, and work with his lawyers on the charitable foundation. At night, I'm learning the delicate dance of his other world, the careful politics, the strategic alliances, the necessary compromises. Mrs. Rivera cries with happiness when I move my belongings from the guest suite to Damien's rooms. I knew from the first day, she says, hugging me. I knew you were special. Sophia returns to work with her arm in a sling, insisting she's fine and making jokes about matching battle scars with Damien. The security team treats me differently now, not as someone to protect, but as someone who's proven she belongs here. I overhear Marcus telling a new guard, "That's Miss Chen, the boss's lady. You protect her with your life, understand?" Detective Chen visits twice more. The first time, she brings news that Tyler Morrison's car was found abandoned near the Mexican border with signs of hasty flight. His bank accounts were emptied, his apartment cleared out. The case is officially classified as a voluntary missing person, someone fleeing to avoid prosecution. She doesn't buy it entirely, I can tell, but she also doesn't push. The second visit is more personal. She finds me in my office, working on a contract revision. "Off the record," she says, closing the door behind her. "Tyler Morrison was a predator. I pulled his history. You weren't his first victim. 3 other women filed reports over the years, and those are just the ones who came forward. The system failed all of you. It failed you specifically multiple times." I don't say anything, unsure where she's going with this. "If he's gone," she continues carefully, "if he decided to run rather than face justice, I'm not losing sleep over it. But I need you to understand something, Miss Chen. Men like Ashford operate in gray areas. Sometimes that serves justice when the legal system can't. Sometimes it serves their own interests. Know the difference?" "I do," I say quietly. "And I appreciate your honesty, Detective." She studies me for a long moment. "You're different from when I first met you. Stronger. I hope that strength came from healing, not from becoming something you're not." "Both, maybe," I admit. "Is that wrong?" "That's for you to decide," she says. "Just remember, you always have choices. Even now. Especially now." After she leaves, I sit at my desk for a long time, thinking about her words. She's right that I'm different. The woman who scrubbed floors and hid bruises is gone. In her place is someone who reviews security reports and understands the careful balance between legitimate business and the shadows Damien operates in. Someone who knows what happened to Tyler and doesn't lose sleep over it either. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty about that. If the absence of guilt makes me complicit, makes me as morally compromised as the world I've chosen. But then I remember Tyler's hands around my throat, the certainty that he would have killed me eventually, and the knowledge that the legal system's restraining order was just paper. Damien made me safe in a way the law never could. Is that justice? By legal definitions, probably not. By any practical definition, absolutely. The situation with the Morettis resolves in a way that surprises me. 3 weeks after the confrontation, Marcus brings news that Vincent has requested a formal meeting, not at the estate this time, but at neutral territory with mediators from 2 other families present. "He's backing down," Damien explains as we prepare for the meeting. "Not completely. He'll still test boundaries, still look for advantages, but he's reassessed. We proved we'd go to war to protect what's ours. That's not weakness. That's a line in the sand." "What changed his mind?" I ask. Damien pulls me close, his hands settling on my waist. "I made it clear that anyone threatening you would discover exactly how far I'm willing to go. I may have suggested that the restraint I showed during the confrontation was a courtesy I wouldn't extend again. You threatened them because of me. I promised them consequences because of us," he corrects. "You're not a liability, Olivia. You're the reason I'll fight harder, think smarter, be more strategic." Vincent understands that now. "Julian," he shrugs. "Julian is young and stupid. He'll learn, or he won't survive long in this world." The meeting happens without incident. Territory lines are redrawn, profit sharing is renegotiated, and a tentative peace is established. I don't attend. Not appropriate yet, Marcus says, though someday that might change. But when Damien returns, I'm waiting in our rooms now, not just his, and the relief on his face tells me everything went well. "It's done," he says, pulling off his tie. "Not perfect, not permanent, but stable for now." "Good," I say. Because I found something interesting in your Northeast holdings that I want to discuss. He laughs and pulls me onto the bed. Later. Right now, I just want to be with you. No business, no politics, no danger, just us. We make love slowly, tenderly, with the certainty of people who've chosen each other with full knowledge and acceptance. Afterwards, we lie tangled together, and I realize I'm completely, surprisingly happy. You know, I say, a normal boyfriend would just change his Facebook status. He laughs against my shoulder. Nothing about us is normal. That's what makes it worth fighting for. 3 months after that first day when he asked about my black eye, we stand on the balcony of the master suite, overlooking the gardens where we had our near kiss. The November air is cool but not cold, and Damien wraps his jacket around my shoulders. Do you ever regret it? He asks quietly. Staying? Choosing this life? I think about the question seriously. My life now is complicated in ways I never imagined. I know things about Damien's business that could be dangerous. I live with security guards and panic rooms. I've learned to read threat assessments and understand territory disputes. I exist in moral gray areas that would horrify the woman I was a year ago. But I also have work I'm good at and proud of. I have people who respect me and value my contributions. I have Marcus's friendship and Mrs. Rivera's maternal care and Sophia's casual camaraderie. I have safety and security and the knowledge that I matter. Most importantly, I have Damien, this complicated, dangerous, surprisingly gentle man who saw me when I was invisible and protected me when I was vulnerable and loves me with a fierce certainty that still takes my breath away. No, I say finally, I don't regret it. This life, this choice, it's the first real thing I've ever had. Everything before was just surviving. This is living. He kisses me, soft and sweet, and I taste our future in it, complicated and dangerous and absolutely worth it. I love you, he says. I know we haven't said it before, but I need you to know. I love you, Olivia Chen. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I love you too, I say, and mean it with my whole heart. Below us, the estate goes about its evening routine, security changing shifts, kitchen staff preparing dinner, Marcus checking his reports in the office we can see through the windows. It's normal and domestic and completely surreal. What are you thinking? Damien asks. That I answered a job posting for a maid position and ended up here, I say, standing on a balcony with a crime lord who loves me, managing a business empire, living in a world I didn't know existed. If someone had told me this would be my life 6 months ago, I would have thought they were insane. And now? Now I think I'm the sanest I've ever been. I know exactly who you are and what your world entails. I'm choosing it. Choosing you, with open eyes and a full heart. I turn in his arms to face him. You asked me about the black eye. By noon, my ex was missing, and by evening, I'd started falling in love with you. That's our story. That's our truth. That's our beginning, he corrects. The rest we'll write together. And we do. Epilogue. 6 months later. My office is busier than ever on a Thursday afternoon in late spring. I'm reviewing contracts for a new property acquisition when Marcus knocks and enters without waiting for permission, a habit that used to annoy me but now I find endearing. The Moretti situation is stable, he says, dropping a file on my desk. They've accepted the new territory divisions. The Chicago family mediated the final details. I look up from my computer. What changed their mind? Last I heard, Julian was still pushing for renegotiation. Marcus glances toward the connecting door to Damien's office with a slight smile. The boss reminded them that underestimating his commitments is costly. Damien emerges from his office, papers in hand, and overhears the conversation. I may have implied that anyone threatening you would discover exactly how far I'm willing to go, he says casually. Again. You threaten them, again. I say flatly. Damien, we talked about this. You can't just threaten other families every time they're difficult. I can when they're specifically difficult about you, he counters, leaning against my desk. Julian made another crude comment about our relationship at the mediation. I simply clarified that such comments are unacceptable and will have consequences. Marcus coughs to hide. A laugh. By clarified, he means he put a gun on the table and asked if Julian wanted to repeat his words. You didn't, I say, exasperated. I did, Damien confirms, completely unrepentant. And Vincent apologized for his son's behavior and agreed to all our terms, so technically, my method worked. I shake my head but can't help smiling. You're impossible. You love me anyway, he says, pulling me close for a quick kiss. Unfortunately true, I admit. Marcus rolls his eyes good-naturedly. If you two are done being disgustingly in love, we have a conference call with the West Coast distributors in 20 minutes. We'll be there, Damien says. After Marcus leaves, he turns back to me. How's the charity foundation restructuring going? Almost done. We'll save about 15% on administrative costs with the new structure, which means more money going directly to beneficiaries. I'm also implementing better oversight to prevent the embezzlement issues you had last year. Have I mentioned lately that you're brilliant? Not since this morning, I say, but I won't object to hearing it again. He kisses me properly this time, deep and thorough, until my phone buzzes with a reminder about my own meeting. We break apart reluctantly. Dinner tonight? He asks. Just us? Sounds perfect. Later that evening, we're in the garden where everything began, or almost began, all those months ago. The roses are in full bloom now, filling the air with their scent. We've had dinner on the terrace, and now we're walking the paths in the twilight, my hand in his. Detective Chen called today, I say. She's closing the Tyler Morrison case officially. Voluntary missing person, presumed to have fled the country. No evidence of foul play. How do you feel about that? Damien asks carefully. I consider the question honestly. Relieved. Not because I think Tyler deserved what happened, though I won't pretend I've lost sleep over it, but because it means that chapter is truly closed. I'm not defined by what he did to me anymore. I'm not a victim, I'm just me. You were never just anything, Damien says, but I understand what you mean. We stop at the bench where we almost kissed, where everything changed. Do you remember that first real conversation we had here? I ask, when you told me your father's story about the black eye. Every word, he says. You looked at me like you were trying to figure out if I was dangerous or safe, and I was trying to figure out the same thing about myself. And what did you decide? That maybe I could be both. Dangerous to people who threatened what mattered to me, safe for the people under my protection. But it wasn't until you that I understood the difference. You made me want to be better, not different. I'm still who I am, but better within those parameters. I lean against his shoulder, comfortable and content. I found something today, I say, in the back of my desk drawer. The list of things I wanted to accomplish when I first came here. Remember how I told you I had goals? I remember. Number 1 was save enough money for first and last month's rent on my own apartment. Number 2 was take an online course to update my degree. Number 3 was go 1 week without being afraid. I laugh softly. That list seems like it was written by a different person. In some ways, it was, Damien says. You've grown, changed, become who you were always meant to be. Maybe, I say, or maybe I just found the first place where I could be myself safely. We sit in comfortable silence as the stars begin to appear. Security patrols the grounds at discreet distances, a reminder of the reality we live in, but no longer frightening. Just another part of our life together. I'm glad I asked about the black eye, Damien says quietly. I'm glad I answered the job posting, I reply, And I'm glad you stayed. Me too. It's not a fairy tale ending. There will be more challenges, more dangerous situations, more moral complexity to navigate. The Morettis are stable, but not gone. Detective Chen will always be watching. The weight of the secrets I keep will always be present. But as Damien pulls me closer and kisses me under the emerging stars, in the garden where our story almost began all those months ago, I know I've made the right choice. This life, complicated, dangerous, morally ambiguous, is mine. Fully, completely, without reservation. And I've never been happier.